In this video, we're going to go ahead and download and install IntelliJ IDEA for a Mac computer. Now, if you're running Windows or Linux, you'd want to check out the videos that were put together for each operating system in this section of the course, and that's because the process is slightly different on those platforms. But if you're on a Mac, this is the video for you to watch. So I'm going to start out by going to www.jetbrains.com. And JetBrains is the company that actually create this IntelliJ IDEA product, which we're going to be using in this course. Once you get there, if you see IntelliJ IDEA showing on the screen, you can click it there. Alternatively, come over here to IDEs and select IntelliJ IDEA. Either way will get you to the same page. And next we're going to click on download, because that's obviously what we want to do, download and then install this tool. Now there's two options here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the download for the Community Edition, and then while that's downloading we'll come back and have a chat about the two options we've got here. So I'll just wait for that to start, and I'll just put that, or have that downloading, and I'll click on back, and I want to go through the options here because we've got an Ultimate Edition and a Community Edition. And you saw me download the Community Edition, and that's actually the free version of this tool. If you download and use that version, you'll never need to pay anything for it. But JetBrains, the makers of IntelliJ IDEA, also have an Ultimate Edition with a free trial, which you can try it for 30 days. And the reason that you choose the Ultimate Edition is it's got a lot more power and it supports a lot more things. You can see that both versions do have a lot of things in common, but some of the advanced things can only work with the Ultimate product. So it's up to you. The Community Edition will certainly work fine. If you want to take advantage of a 30-day trial, click on download here. And the other thing to keep in mind is I can actually extend that by another 90 days to a total of 120 days if you decide you want to try out the Ultimate Edition. And you'll see that there's a lecture in this section of the course which will show you how to go about getting that special coupon that will give you 120 days. So choose whichever version you want to choose and then download it. You can see in my case that I've downloaded the Community Edition, and it's actually now finished in the bottom left hand corner. So I'm going to go and click on that to open it. Depending on your browser, you may need to navigate to the folder where it was downloaded and then open that file to start the installation process. Okay, and you can see that it's pretty simple. You just need to drag this over into the applications folder and give it a moment to start. You can see that it's installing there. That's actually installed, so I'm going to close that down. I'm also going to close down the browser now because we're finished with that. And what I'm going to do then is open that product. So I'm going to go to my Finder, open a new window, go into Applications. And actually I'm going to close down this as well because we've actually finished with the installation process. And to go back to Applications. So we downloaded it, and the most recent version was the IntelliJ IDEA CE, which is Community Edition. So I'm going to double click that because that's the one I've just downloaded. In any event, you'll click on the relevant one that you downloaded, which you'll probably only have the one on your computer. And then it gets verified. And then we just need to go through a few configuration options before we're able to take advantage and use IntelliJ IDEA. I'm going to close down the Finder window for now. Eventually you'll get this message. Do we want to open it? We can see that it's been downloaded from www.jetbrains.com, so we can click on OK. Now, depending on your installation, you may or may not see this. This is an option now for you to select whether you want to install or import the settings from another installation of IntelliJ IDEA, or most likely you haven't used this tool before, in which case the default option here, do not import settings, will be correct. But if you do see another option there and you do want to, you can select that, and that will basically import the settings from another installation so that you don't have to enter them all again. But in my case, I'm just going to click on, or have selected, which is the default option, do not import settings, and click OK. Now we get through a wizard process. Now we need to go through and just select a few things. Now the first thing is the UI theme. So we can choose whether we want a white background or a dark background, or sort of a dark theme. I'm going to leave the white theme, the white background selected, but you'll choose whichever one appeals to you. Noting that you can always change this down the bottom. It says under Preferences, Appearance and Behavior, Appearance. So you can go back and do that at a later time if you want to change it. I'm going to click on Next. Now you get this option before, and usually the option you want to select is this one on the left hand side here. I've never used IDEA, and that's just going to set up the Mac OS X Mac key maps, which is probably correct for most people. So I'm going to click on Next. We've got an option here to create a launcher script. Now this is if you ever wanted to use IntelliJ from the command line. Probably it's not something you do very often, but seeing as though we're going through the installation process, let's click that anyway, and if we want to use that in the future, we can do that. And click on Next. You've now got a list here, or presented with various options for various extra plugins that we can install for IntelliJ IDEA. The thing is, you can come back and do these at any time, so I'm not going to select any at this point, but if there's something there that appeals to you and that you want to install, this is the place where you can actually go ahead and do that. And you can also disable some tools as well that they aren't installed, but I would generally recommend you just leave everything as is, noting that you can come back and change this later if you do decide to. And one other thing to keep in mind is if you're running or have selected the Ultimate Edition, there's probably going to be more options here, different plugins, so the screen might look a little bit different, and that's because of the extra functionality that the Ultimate Edition gives you. In my case, I'm going to click on Next without changing anything. And we've got a couple of other options there to download some other featured plugins. We don't need them in this course, so I'm just going to click on Start using IntelliJ IDEA. It'll ask you for a password, so just type in your password. And that will now start IntelliJ IDEA. Alright, so at this point we've started IntelliJ, but we've got a couple of other configuration options we need to do. And the first one is we need to define the Java Development Kit, or configure that. And we can click on that or select that by clicking on Configure, clicking on Project Defaults, and then choosing Project Structure. Once we do that, we get this screen, and if you don't see Project SDK selected, you might need to make sure that you've actually down here, you've clicked on Project, because if you've clicked on another option in the past or something, you may not see it, but clicking on Project will show that again. And you can see at the moment it's showing that Project SDK, in fact there isn't an SDK. So what we need to do is associate the Java Development Kit that we've installed in a previous video with IntelliJ, so that IntelliJ can use that when programming. So to do that, we just click on New, we select JDK. Now, generally speaking, when we do that, it will automatically find the Java Development Kit that has been downloaded, that we downloaded previously. And if you have a look there in the path, you can see that there's the Java Development Kit that we downloaded in a previous video, downloaded and installed. I didn't need to do anything. But in some Macs, you might find that it won't automatically find that for some reason. If that's the case, that's actually the path there. You can see on the screen there, that would be where you'd go. You navigate to Library, Java, Java Virtual Machines, and you'd make sure the Java Development Kit was selected, the JDK, making sure you haven't selected the JRE, which is also an option. Then you go to the Contents and then the Home folder. Once you do that, that's all you need to do, and IntelliJ can do the rest. But in my case, as you saw, it automatically found it, so chances are good that it'll do the same for you on your Mac. Click on Open, and you can see now we have got an SDK configured. And if it's not selected for some reason, make sure that it is selected there. The other thing to do here is make sure that SDK default is selected. It is by default, and that's version 8, as you can see that's selected there. We don't need to do anything because that's the correct option. So once we've done that, we can click on OK. We've now configured our Java Development Kit. Then there's just a few other settings that I recommend you go ahead and configure before we finish the video. So to do that, click on Configure and click on Preferences. The next thing we want to do is come down here to Editor, expand that option, and then come down here to General and expand that option as well. Try Auto Import first, select that option. We want to go ahead and click on the checkbox for Add Unambiguous Imports on the Fly and Optimize Imports on the Fly. Select both of those, and that'll just make the coding a little bit easier, and you'll see that in action as we go through the course. Click on OK. Well, actually, I'll click on Apply because I need to go back and go to Appearance. Click on that. The other thing to check to make sure is activated or is enabled is Show Line Numbers. So you can see in my case that Show Line Numbers is checked, and we want to do that because again it makes it a little bit easier when you're programming to see which line number you're on. So that's selected. Click on OK. Alright, so at this point we've now finished with the installation and configuration of IntelliJ IDEA. Let's move on to the next video.